Meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich. To ask Clerk Tara to get us into the meeting.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Dryfout, that the meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make mention of our new council chambers and give credit to staff who pulled this off. It looks terrific, and we're glad to be back home. Let's begin with the initiation of our council chambers. Councillor Drulard, if you could read our First Nations acknowledgement, please.
We will begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of First Nations people who have a long-standing relationships to the land, water, and regions of southwestern Ontario. We also acknowledge the Lower Thames River watershed communities of this area, which include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation of Moraviantown. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island. We are thankful for the opportunity to live, learn, and share with mutual respect and appreciation.
Thank you. Is there any pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Clerk Tara, any items not on the agenda?
We have one additional item for the closed session, a labor relations or employee negotiations, section 2392D of the Municipal Act for public works employees.
Thank you. And with council's consent, we're going to juggle the agenda around a little bit. The firefighter certificates are going to happen at 6 p.m. They couldn't get home from work and make it at 5. So at this time, number 5 on the agenda is a presentation by Impact. And I believe we have Brenda Slater joining us to give us this presentation. Welcome, Brenda, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and I appreciate you having me here tonight. As I mentioned, my name is Brenda Slater, and I am the account manager with Municipal and Stakeholder Relations. And municipal relationships are really important to MPAC and certainly to myself being in municipal relations. I'm really looking forward to working with everyone over the next year and going forward. And we really want to continue to elevate both the municipal and the property owner experience. And the next slide speaks to MPAC. And at MPAC, we are Ontario's property experts. Our role is to assess and classify more than 5.5 million properties across Ontario, worth a combined value of more than $3 trillion. In the past year, Ontario has grown by approximately 45,000 new residential homes, and in 2022, we added more than $37 billion to Ontario's assessment rolls. Every municipality uses our assessments to make informed decisions about their community, including the distribution of property taxes. Ontario's property tax system and these assessments generate approximately $30 billion in tax revenue annually. And on the next slide, it shows there are 4 key players in Ontario's property assessment and taxation system. And we all have an important role to play, and we all have an interest in the process. The provincial government, specifically the Ministry of Finance, is responsible for setting assessment and taxation legislation, as well as policies. There is also an independent body that adjudicates appeals of MPAC's assessed values, and they are the Assessment Review Board, or the ARB. And the ARB falls under the jurisdiction of the province. MPAC is an independent, not-for-profit corporation funded by all municipalities. Our role is to accurately assess and classify all properties in Ontario, and we do this in compliance with the Assessment Act and the regulations set by the Province of Ontario. We are accountable to the province, to municipalities, and property taxpayers of Ontario through our board of directors. And our board is comprised of provincial, municipal, and taxpayer representatives, and they are also appointed by the Ministry of Finance. Municipalities determine their budget requirements, they set tax rates, collect property taxes to pay for municipal services. And municipalities use MPAC's assessments and their established tax rates to distribute the tax requirement to ratepayers. And then finally, property owners pay the property tax bill, and as well, they help to set the market value through ongoing property purchases and property sales. And the next slide speaks to maintaining Ontario's property database. And it's very important that we continuously update our municipal records, and it's important that our municipal records are accurate when our municipal stakeholders are making important tax decisions. Maintaining Ontario's property database includes assessing new construction, assessing additions and renovations promptly, as well responding to property owner inquiries and working with property owners to help them understand their assessment. We support municipalities. We offer Municipal Connect, where municipal stakeholders obtain their primary source of assessment-related information. And we work collaboratively with all municipalities on projects that are important to you, such as receiving digital building permits and digital building permit plans. And finally, we have statutory duties, such as handling requests for reconsiderations. And the next slide speaks to the assessment or the reassessment that was scheduled to occur in 2020. It was postponed by the province to provide stability and certainty to Ontarians and to enable municipalities to focus on responding to the challenges posed by the pandemic. As a result, property assessments continue to be based on a legislated valuation date of January 1, 2016. MPAC continues to maintain and update the assessment role to reflect changes such as new construction and improvements to property. For new buildings or structures, MPAC determines a value as of January 1, 2016 to assure equity when comparing to existing properties. While MPAC awaits the news from the provincial government about the next province-wide assessment update, January 1, 2016 continues to be Ontario's legislated valuation date. And as noted earlier, this is the fixed date to which all properties are valued. Although the assessment update remains paused, our work continues to keep property data up to date. Property owners will receive an updated property assessment notice from MPAC if there are changes to their properties. In November, MPAC sent almost 800,000 notices to reflect changes to properties. And we sent just over 440 notices within the municipality of Dutton Dunwich. Once the province announces when the next assessment update will take place, and as well when the valuation date will be, we will certainly let you know and can then work to have more meaningful conversations as we work to finalize the assessed values within Dutton Dunwich. The next slide speaks to after we assess a property or change an assessment. As I mentioned, we mail the property owner a property assessment notice. And sometimes property owners do not agree with our assessed value. And the property owner may reach out to you to let you know that they disagree with our assessment. And it is important to remember that property assessments are not taxation. If you get an inquiry, property owners can ask themselves if they could have sold their property on January 1, 2016, which is the assessed or for the assessed value, Have they visited About My Property to review the information that MPAC has on file regarding their property to ensure that everything is correct and accurate? And as well, they can utilize About My Property to conduct comparable research on the assessed values of other properties within their community. And if a property owner still disagrees with our assessment, they do have the option to file the request for reconsideration, and we will review it free of charge. There is also the ability to file an appeal with the Assessment Review Board or the ARB. And the easiest and the fastest way to start a review or a request for reconsideration is through About My Property. And they can also file, property owners can also file through mpac.ca. Just taking a few moments on the next slide to speak to the relationship between property taxes and property assessment. And assessments distribute taxes. They do not determine the amount of taxes paid. And one of the important points is not how much the assessed value of a property has changed, but rather how the assessed value has changed relative to the average change in that class within their community. And we explained this concept in the recent MPAC toolkit that we shared with all municipalities. And that is also available digitally on our website, mpac.ca. And the next slide speaks to, in anticipation of the next province-wide reassessment, we have implemented a strategy to address the misconceptions about the relationship between assessed value and taxation, and including a number of resources that are available for municipalities that will ensure that once this announcement is made, that we're ready with the support that you require. The digital toolkit that's available on mpac.ca is available to help municipalities, including yourselves as elected officials, and as well to provide support and resources to help educate and inform property owners. We've also produced a new video on how your property taxes are calculated based on the assessed value of your home. And the slide that's up now, just before I wrap up, I did want to share a snapshot of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich, and this is your current assessment base for the 2023 taxation year. And it's broken down by property code. And so I've provided the number of properties, the total assessed value for that property code, and that percentage within your assessment base. The next slide, just saying thanks for having me here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. This is the third council meeting that I've done this month, so I very much enjoy them. We do encourage everyone, if you have not already done so, to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, which is called In Touch. And you can do that through mpac.ca, and that's where you can find our digital library for all of the resources. At any time, please feel free to reach out to myself as your account manager, and my contact information is available for you on the last slide. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Brenda. I think it's important to keep the lines of communication open between Impact and certainly our municipality. We appreciate you spending time with us. Are you open to some questions?
Yes, sure.
Any questions from council to Brenda? No. We're going to be easy on you tonight, Brenda. I see no questions.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Delays. Oh, no, that's true. She's the messenger. Okay, moving on. Number 7 is the Public Works Department, and we're going to start with the dust suppressant tender. And I see Murray is online. He can speak to it if there's any questions. Let me find it. Okay, Murray, I'm going to let you speak to this tender to start things off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Took me a minute there to find the unmute button. My apologies. Yeah, we put our tenders out, and we had 4 respondents that got back to us. Eastern Oilfield Services was the lowest tendered bid at 0.95 cents, or well, 95 cents per liter versus the 54 last year. That's how much it's jumped. They have done our dust suppressant for the last couple of years. They've done us a good job. We have no concerns with using them, and since they came in, a little bit more reasonable, that's there's no concerns at all. So hence my recommendation.
Any questions from council? Seeing none. Just one from me, Murray, while you're there. Is there a typo on this quote? I see like 9.5 cents per liter for the 2023 bid and 54 cents a liter for the 2022 bid. So I'm a little confused. What is the actual tender?
I believe they both should have a 0 in front of them. 5.4 cents per liter and 9.5 cents per liter. I
Okay.
don't have the tenders sitting right in front of me here now, but I believe, yes, you are correct, Mr. Mayor. That is a typo.
So it's not doubled, but almost from year over year.
You are correct, sir. And it's still going to be locally sourced, but yeah, they have almost doubled in price, unfortunately.
I guess a question for Treasurer Tracy. We've captured this in the current budget drafts.
Yes, I believe we have, but I will be double checking it again.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from council? I don't see any. Clerk Tara, the resolution, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Droulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Manager of Roads and Facilities titled 2023 Dust Suppressant Tender dated February 22nd, 2023 for information, and that Council award the tender for dust suppressant to Eastern Oilfield Limited in the amount of 9.5 cents per liter plus HST. All in favor? And that's carried.
Sorry, we'll go to the gravel tender now. Murray, if you want to speak to that, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We received 2 tenders back on our gravel tender for 2023 year. Johnson Brothers were slightly higher on the price of the gravel itself, but cheaper on the trucking. So factored together, that put them as the low bidder. And we have used Johnson Brothers, well, last year, and we have used them previous years, and no concerns on that as well. Again, you'll notice that there's unfortunately a price jump in this as well of, up to $3 a ton compared to even last year.
Thank you, Murray. Any questions from council? I don't see any. Murray, we're not going to be dealing with any additional costs such as a fuel surcharge.
The tendered amounts that are in front of you there do encompass, that's why there's the price range of 2207 to 2309. Our tenders have a price differential built into it for certain prices of fuel. So if price of fuel stays down, well, then we'll be down closer to the 2207. If price of fuel took off, it would go up to the 2309. It's I don't have those numbers right in front of me as to how we broke it down. I believe it jumps by every 10 cents per liter. The price changes. They have a an option to put a different price on it. But it's all written down in their tender as well.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from council? I don't see any questions here. Clerk Tara?
Moved by Drewlard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the manager of roads and facilities titled 2023 gravel tender dated February 22nd, 2023 for information, and that council award the tender for the supply and delivery of gravel to Johnson Brothers Limited in the amount of $22.07 to $23.09 per ton plus HST. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Moving on to the drainage department, and I see we have Brent with us. And the first item is a request for drain improvement on the Donald Lumley Drain. Brent, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, Mayor Hentz, this came as a result of the on-site meeting we had with the affected landowners. The original requester had asked for the drain to be improved on his property to Talbot Line. So this is representing the landowner directly north of Talbot Line on Branch A of the Donald Lumley Drain. And that makes sense to everyone to get the drain under the county roads, so.
Okay, thank you, Brent. Council, anything? No questions from council. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Pemberton, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives and decides to proceed with the Donald Lumley Drain Improvement request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act received from L&K Small Farms Limited and instructs the clerk to notify Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority as required under Section 78(2) of the Drainage Act for the drainage improvements, and that the requesting landowner be notified of council's decision to proceed, and that an engineer be appointed under the appropriate section of the Drainage Act after the 30-day time period from the notice of council's decision was sent to the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, and OMAFRA has passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you for that. And on to B, we have a request for drain improvement on the Dunwich Dutton School drain. Brent, go ahead, speak to that.
Okay, this request is coming from the Thames Valley School Board because we had not heard from them at any of our meeting invites. So I went and met with the principal at the school and, or I guess it was the vice principal, and he moved us up the chain of command at the Thames Valley School Board. And we eventually met with some trustees or directors of capital and maintenance. And they felt it would be a good thing if we were working across up to their property, that the drain be improved over to the east side of their property in Charles Street. So they've signed that request for this investigation.
Thank you, Brent. Any questions or concerns from council? Seeing none, Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives and decide to proceed with the Dunwich Dutton School Drain Improvement Request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act received from Thames Valley District School Board and instructs the clerk to notify Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority as required under Section 78(2) of the Drainage Act for the drainage improvements, and that the requesting landowner be notified of council's decision to proceed, and that an engineer be appointed under the appropriate section of the Drainage Act after the 30-day time period from the notice of council's decision was sent to the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, and OMAFRA has passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Item C is a notice of withdrawal from petition on the Dunwich Dutton School drain. Can you provide any information on that, Brent, please?
Okay, we, yes, Mayor Hentz, we, council will probably recall at a previous meeting, they received the petition for a branch to the Dutton School drain. The engineer surveyed that, and the engineer provided me with information on estimated costs. I went and met with the petitioning landowners. and provided the information. The estimated cost of constructing this drain was about $27,000 for this branch. The share that would have been assessed to those three landowners that are removing their name from the petition now would have amounted for about $5,000 of those costs. They felt that that cost was too much for them to bear, so they removed their name from the petition. So they'll be left with a little bit of engineering costs, additional costs to their estimated assessment on the Greater Dutton School Drain project, but significantly less than the $5,000 they were originally assessed for that other that branch. The rest would have been, remainder would have been to the school board, another neighboring property, and Agris also would have been paying part of the benefit on that branch, but it's all not going to happen now.
Thank you, Brent. Any questions from council? Seeing none, Clerk Tara?
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the withdrawal requests from Hugh and Marlene McGinnis, Darren Lee, and William and Susan Clark on the Dunwich Dutton School Drain and directs the clerk to notify the engineer. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Number 9, I think we're done, Brent, but you're welcome to hang around.
Thanks, Mayor Hentz.
Number 9 is our Recreation Department fireworks approval. And does anybody want to speak to that, or it's pretty self-explanatory? Any questions from council? I expect Councillor Dryfout, you may be involved in this.
Yes, I am. It's all part of the COVID kindness event that's taking place in March the 18th. So this is a request from Charlotte, our recreation director, to proceed with fireworks for the event. So,
thank you. Councillor Drulard, did you have a question?
Yeah, not necessarily a question, just a comment. I know we usually get a little bit of pushback when we have fireworks events, so if we can do our best to get that notification out to some of the, there's some specific farms, and I think you know where I'm talking. If we can get that information out to them so that they can prepare for that. That's, I mean, and I don't know how we get it out better than we already do, but if there's something that we can do, that would be great, just so maybe it'll keep the calls down in the office.
So this will be held at the Wallstown Fairgrounds?
no, it's actually going to be held at the community center.
Oh.
We're going, what the proposal is to use their low, yeah, what do they call it? Low altitude fireworks. So we did look at the Wallstown Fairgrounds, and they were willing to let us use the grounds for that reason. But Charlotte did the research on it, and this is what we've come up with. So.
Okay, anything further? Councillor Durlard, your point is well taken. If it was at the fairgrounds, and in the past, I've made a personal call to the farmers involved down there.
I actually had assumed it was going to be in Dutton. I wasn't sure how we were doing that, but I was specifically thinking of some down your way. So maybe somebody can take that as and make a personal approach to that horse farming operation, because I know that they do struggle.
Okay, thank
and
you.
there's probably ways they can prepare.
I think it's important to do these things. Clerk Tara, I think we're ready for the resolution.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the Recreation and Administrative Assistant titled Fireworks Approval, March 18th, 2023, Celebrate COVID Kindness, dated February 22nd, 2023 for information, and that Council waives Section 8B of the Fireworks Bylaw 2021-63 to allow fireworks for the Celebrate COVID Kindness event on March 18th, 2023. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Correspondence. We have the Elgin Group Police Service Board 2023 budget. CAO Tracy, do you want to speak to that issue?
This is the budget that we've already received and is in our budget. Just like everybody else, they have those increases for insurance and staffing. I don't think there's anything that stands out from their budget that's any different than anybody else's. And as I say, we've already taken this this whole budget into consideration with our year end and our budget, so.
Thank you. Any questions, council?
Just curious, what was the increase this year, Tracy, compared to last year for the police services?
I tell you that right off the bat, but I could probably find it at break and let you know when we get back. The exact amounts between the 3 years.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Tara, resolution, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Dryfout, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives and accepts the Elgin Group Police Services Board 2023 budget. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, 10B is the Elgin OPP annual report. My understanding is Inspector Lucas is going to make a presentation to this council in the very near future, in April. So, but we have the report in front of you. Is there any discussion needed at this time? I don't see anything. Clerk Tara, resolution, please.
Moved by Dryfout, seconded by Loveland, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the Elgin County OPP 2022 annual report for information. All in favor? And that's carried.
Sorry, I didn't have my microphone on. But is there any questions or discussion council wants to have on that issue? You good? Okay, thank you. Clerk Tara, resolution, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Drouillard, that correspondence item 10C from the Elgin Group Police Services Board be received and filed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Do we have another resolution on that?
Moved by Drouillard, seconded by Dryfout, that relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. On the number 11 consent agenda, is there anything that council wishes to discuss further on our consent agenda? Councillor Drouillard?
Nothing further, just I was happy to see the report of the federal electoral districts remaining the same. So I was happy to see that.
I agree. That was good news. They were planning on taking St. Thomas away from us, which wouldn't have been a good thing. Anything else on the consent agenda, council?
Excuse me, Mayor Hintz.
Yes, go ahead.
I
Tracy.
was preparing a report to council on that. Would they still like to see it, or are they okay with just the consent agenda?
See, Tracy, I believe council's okay with it.
Okay, yep, I was
Yeah.
planning on doing a report for next meeting, but yeah, if you guys are okay with this, then I won't bother.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The note from Karen Vecchio's office was pretty thorough and explained it a lot, and it had maps, so I am clear with it. Okay, thank you.
Just one comment.
Yeah,
Mr.
go ahead.
Just noted in the Board of Education report, the number, the enrollment numbers in the schools. It's interesting to see that Dutton Dunwich is over capacity, and in Albro and West Elgin High School are under capacity. I think it's to be noted that, you know, the school board's facing the same problems in some locations, and I think it's interesting that it's tied. We're feeling the same budget restrictions and problems in growth as our local schools. So it's a good sign as well that the numbers of children are up, and it's good for our school and maybe bodes well for our high school in the future. So I think it's just worth noting that we're all kind of in the same thing together. So.
Yeah, it is a good news story. It's a good news, bad news story. I have grandchildren in Dutton Dunwich Public School and in portables, and Councillor Drulard can speak well to this issue. It's good news that we're a growing community. The public school's a keeper, where some rural schools may not be. So that's a positive. I attended a school board meeting not so long ago, and there was quite a discussion on schools, building new ones, and the costs are just incredible to build a school. So I guess we can advocate for Dutton Dunwich, and I'm sure the school board's well aware of our capacity issues, but it doesn't hurt to talk to them every chance you get about it. Thank you.
But just to be noted, it wasn't that many years ago we were almost facing closure. So it's a big swing in 5 years from when my youngest son went here. So
I can't help but think that the West Elgin Arena has benefited from Dutton Dunwich school enrollment. So we aided their cause quite a bit. That's everything from the consent agenda. Clerk Tara, resolution, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, Tara. We're kind of ahead of schedule, and I don't want to interfere with this budget discussion, but I think, Tracy, if it's okay with you, we'll get started on it. Keeping in mind, we do have some presentations right at 6 o'clock that we have to honor that. So if you want to give your report, we'll start with the capital budget.
Okay. So, oh, that's water sewer, Tara. Thanks, yeah. So, obviously slide 2 is just the teamwork between staff and council and residents all working together to get the municipality where we want it to be. The next slide I always leave in because this kind of just shows you how just the different plans we use and the roadmap to how we get to our capital budget that we're presenting. The next slide is also something I always leave in because this is the mandated asset management plan for core infrastructure. And I just want to point out that, you know, we're not even done phase 1. We're behind. So that's my stress level that you guys constantly hear with me. we're getting there, but it's a big job. Core assets are our biggest expense, our biggest worry. So we really need to be getting those levels of service in line. We need to be putting these in some kind of software that's tracking the age, the amount we should be putting away, the year it's coming due, and then that ties into what we should be putting in our reserves. Just some good financial planning, long-term planning. The next slide is the sources of funding in this particular budget. So we're using grants, our OSIF, our gas tax. We've used some capital reserves, some specialty reserves, recreation fire, and just a little bit of debt. The next slide is just it's just broken down into a pie of the 657,000 of the sources of funding. So if we go to the next one, our first capital item, administration, was the municipal hall roof repairs and the primary server replacement. So one is coming from the tax levy and one is coming from the capital reserve. Is there any questions on these two items from council?
I don't see any, Tracy.
Okay, we can move on to
Yep.
protective services, emergency and fire services. So these three projects are the pumper truck, which is a life cycle replacement, the extrication tools, an asset acquisition and replacement, and the self-containing breathing filling apparatus filling station. And it's a health and safety, also an asset acquisition. This is where our source of debt was coming from. So just the debt to order the chassis and pay for it so that we can get that truck delivered within 18 months. 68 coming from the fire reserve and 37 coming from the capital reserve. Are there any questions on these capital items?
I have a question, Tracy, and I don't know whether we have Chief Schul with us.
No, he's sick today, so.
Okay. And maybe Councillor Drulard can answer this. I know the firefighters have a fund, and it's from their fundraising activities. It was fairly substantial not so long ago. I don't know the amount now. And my understanding that fund was to buy additional equipment, additional supplies as they saw fit. Has that been talked about or discussed as part of our capital purchases for this year? Councillor Drulard?
I believe Murray's still with us and he can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think the decision was made that they would use that to donate within the community, but not for equipment. It's when they go out and volunteer their time, so then they give it back to the community. Now, I could be incorrect in this, and if Murray could correct me if I am wrong, but I believe that's the decision that they made in-house.
Murray, are you still with us? We can get an answer for that.
Absolutely, and I don't mind following up to get that answer for you, but I believe that is what they're doing with those funds. If there's requests from projects within the community, because it's their volunteer hours that they use for that. I know that specifically they did donate to the school breakfast program. So I believe that's kind of where they've gone with that.
Okay, fair enough. It's their money. It's their decision. Any other questions on the emergency and fire services capital? I don't see any. Tracy, you can carry on.
So when we move to the public works, the projects include the Morris Street tar and chip, one roadside mower, a Ford pickup truck, the annual sidewalk program, the Silver Clay Culvert Engineering, and the Center Street Engineering. And the sources of funding for that is the 40,000 tax levy, which is the sidewalks. 84,155 is the roads reserves for the truck and the roadside mower. Gas tax and the OSIF funding are for the engineering and the Morris Street tar and chip. Are there any questions?
Councillor Pemberton.
I'm assuming it says Ford truck, but I'm assuming we would do an RFQ for that. And it wouldn't necessarily be a Ford, it would be whoever the lowest
Yeah.
quote would be.
Yes, exactly. I just picked that because they said they were replacing a Ford F-150. So yeah, exactly.
Okay, just checking.
Yep.
Anything further from, we've already talked about it extensively, but I just want to mention the Morris Street tar and chip again and make sure council understands. And in speaking with Murray, it's not his choice to do it that way. His preference is to try and find the money in the future to do, as he mentioned at the last meeting, a curb and gutter and the full road construction. So I just want to make council aware of that our roads manager, this isn't his first choice. I don't think Murray's with us anymore, but he could add if he cares to. Anything further? I don't think Murray's with us, but I could be wrong. Murray, are you still with us?
I can see him on there, but he doesn't seem to be, oh, hold on. He's messaging me. Oh,
Yes,
I'm not-
Mr. Mayor, I am here now
There he
again.
is, yeah.
Sorry, I've got 3 plow trucks still, or 3 sander trucks still out working, so was dealing with some of that.
Okay, Murray, just, we're discussing your capital and the Morris Street in Iona. It's on the capital list for tar and chip. And I did make mention that that's not your first choice, so I'll let you offer any comments at this time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we've set a precedent with the rebuilding of the streets in Dutton all the way along. Like we started with Annie Street and then moved on to John, then Marsh, then Wesley, doing full street rehabilitations, which, while I understand are costly, this particular street does not require the drainage repairs that we've done in the past on the other streets. It also does not require sidewalks in that part of town. But with doing a curb and gutter, I don't know. I feel that all residents, in the urban areas, and that is, technically an urban area for us. It's a hamlet, I understand, but I believe that they should be treated equally fair. And this would also alleviate some of we have good drainage in that area, but it'd be nice to channel the water to the drains rather than perhaps having to have any kind of ditching along the edge of the road. The curb would channel the water to the drains. And with being in an urban setting where people are going to be turning in the same driveway every day, we could see a reduced lifespan of tar and chip versus pavement. But those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Murray. Anything further from council? I don't see any further questions. You can carry on, Tracy.
Okay, the next slide is our recreation and facilities, and there's a 10 or 14 picnic table replacements. The ones that we have are 30 years old, I believe they said, and in need of repair. We've got the funding down here as the recreation reserve, but Councillor Pemberton did mention that we could maybe use the Green Lane fund to pay for these, which is an option I could look into, so it would leave the money in the reserve.
That would be a great idea. We could explore it anyway.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Drulard.
Just one comment on that. If we are exploring the Green Lane option, should we perhaps go with the original 28, was it 28?
I
Tables?
think, yeah, I think it was 14 or 14, yeah.
If we're going to do the ask, I just think it's probably in our best interest to ask for the entire amount for the 28. If we don't get the entire amount, then we look at it.
Yep.
So,
That's a good idea, and I also was going to, I wondered if council would be interested in approaching the Green Lane, fund, board about the, help with the baseball clubs project. To do our share of, it was bleachers and backstops and things like that, so there's that option as well that we could, I don't know how many, projects you can put in for. I don't think we've put in for any in a few years, so.
Thanks,
That's
Tracy. Councillor Drulard, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I had mentioned that source of funding to Sherry Drummel-Smith as well, from baseball. So they may also be looking at that source of funding. They would probably have to go through us because I don't believe they're a not-for-profit, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Thanks. I think that's something we can explore afterwards for sure.
Deputy Mayor Loveland.
I just want to make the comment that in my experience with Green Lane, they really like to see the municipality or putting in some money. So I guess if we were going to go with the picnic tables, I would suggest we apply for the whole 28, but continue to pay for the $10,000 out of our own revenue. They really like to see, they don't want to fund the whole project. They participate in it. I think the last time we were there was the Iona Park, and they wanted to see that fundraising portion of it, so.
Thank you for that. So I guess we'll leave the 10,000 in the budget then. That would be our contribution. Okay.
Yes, and if we don't need to do the transfer, then we won't. So, perfect.
Yeah, Councillor Drulard.
But that partnership with baseball, because they have that, they've already been doing fundraising. That will be very favorable when we go for the ask. And I wouldn't be afraid to ask for significant amounts.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Tracy, I think we should halt right there with the budget discussion. Firefighters have arrived. It's not quite 6, but by the time we get organized, if council agrees. So we'll take a pause to hand out some certificates to our firefighters. Well, if we have time. Clerk Tara has corrected me, which she's good at doing. We'll go on with the water. I think we can squeeze it in, Tracy.
Oh, all right. So the capital items for the water department are the fire flow testing, the Shackleton line water main engineering, and the parking lot paving at the water building. And those are OSIF funding and water reserve funding. Are there any questions on those ones?
I do not see any. I guess
Okay.
you can wrap it up,
Yeah,
Tracy.
that concludes the capital items requested by staff and presented in this capital budget. If there's any questions or changes, discussions.
Okay, everybody good? Thank you, Tracy. It's a challenge. This year more so than most. Okay, we are going to take a short break and honor our firefighters.
to come up and present. This is the first class that went through the Elgin Middlesex Training Center. And this is our 4 recruits from last year that went through and all passed. They've successfully completed their firefighter 1, firefighter 2, and hazmat ops. And we just like to let everybody know how important it is that, you know, training, especially in the fire service, is such an important thing. And very proud of these recruits for going through and sticking with it. And it's a lot of time spent and a lot of online and practical stuff they had to go through. It's very intense. What they've actually gone through is basically what you would call pre-fire, so they could apply for a job as a firefighter anywhere in the province. So yeah, we're very proud of them. We'd just like to thank the council for support, and Marilis and yourself for supporting the fire department and the recruit school.
Thank you. First up is Lexi.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Make it a picture.
Okay.
Didn't know there was photos tonight.
Mhm.
Didn't know there was photos tonight.
We have John.
John Barker.
Thank you.
Congratulations, John.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have Hunter.
Hunter Curley.
Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
And we have Craig.
Last but not least, Craig Verdell.
Thank you.
Hello.
Close. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and be safe out there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Congratulations, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor Hans. You had a question for me earlier that I had answered. And just for further clarification, Deputy Chief Paul would speak to that question for you about the funds that they raise in their volunteer work.
Yep, go ahead.
You're just asking about what we use money that we raise in the community for. I think in the past, we have used it for equipment. Sometimes it would go for the wish list as opposed to the needs list. So there could be a piece of equipment that is not maybe necessarily 100% required, but it's a good thing to have. So we would use it for that. But anymore, you know, the budget generally looks after everything that all of our equipment. So we do donate back to the community. We also use it for things like, you know, the Santa Claus float and handing out candy for things like that. So we don't raise as much money as we have in the past, because we don't have the equipment needs that we did in the past. Does that answer your question?
That's perfect. That's sort of how I answered, was that you don't do, you've gone in a different direction with how
There have been,
you use the funds.
yeah, there have been donations in the past specifically for equipment. One of them was, there was some money donated and it was put towards rescue saw. So we did use the funds for that. And there's been some money donated for low angle rope rescue equipment, and it would be put towards that as well. So that does kind of offset, I guess, taxpayer money. But those were specifically donated for specific items. So then we would use them for that.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you for that. It's your money. Do as you see fit. Okay, thanks all for attending. You're welcome to hang around if you have nothing better to do this evening.
Thanks.
Okay, I believe we've wrapped up the discussion on the capital and the water and wastewater part of the budget, or the capital part anyway. Clerk Tara, resolution, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich approves the 2023 capital budget as presented. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Anything unfinished business?
We can go back to do the 2023 water and wastewater budget.
Do you want to handle that one now? Okay. I guess you're up again, Tracy.
Okay, just wait for Tara to get that up. If you could just go to page 3, Tara, that'd be great. Just the highlights of the water and wastewater services. We currently have 1,635 water and 699 wastewater customers. 253 kilometers of water mains, 1 elevated storage tank, 1 lagoon and 1 wastewater treatment plant, and a number of pumping stations, force mains, and sanitary mains. The next slide, the key initiatives again are obviously to work on the wastewater treatment plant expansion and increase our reserve transfers for future infrastructure replacement and reconstruction. The water department expenses are estimated at $1,372,915, and wastewater is estimated at $464,490. Revenues are estimated at $1,688,641 and $664,13 for the wastewater. The reserve balances for the end of 2022. Next slide, Tara. Sorry. Water reserve transfers out in 2022 were 209,760. Estimated year-end transfer in 94,963, which still will leave our water reserve in a deficit. Wastewater, we transferred out 93,482. We collected 270 in the capacity fee and 237 from operations, which is a $509,000 transfer to the reserve, leaving us 532,957. These are unaudited year-end transfers, so these are just an estimate for this presentation. Our goal is to get our water reserve in the same shape as we're going for the wastewater. Next slide, please, Tara, is our debt levels for water and wastewater. Water right now is at $1,029,743, and wastewater's at 286,345. In the expenses presented in the 2 slides before, the debt payments of principal and interest in water are 138,602 and 66,850 in the wastewater. And of course, these balances are before the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. Next slide are the water services fees. So I have suggested we up the water rate per cubic meter by 5%, some close to CPI, not quite, but close. Does council have any questions on that or any discussion?
I'm sure there will be. I'll start with Deputy Mayor Loveland on that issue.
I have a bit of a concern that we're not raising that water rate enough. We're putting it up 12 cents. The wholesale water rate from Tri-County went up 11 cents. And we have to also pay $28,000 one-time capital this year. So I know, don't like to see rates go up too much, but I really think we've worked hard to get these rates up where they should be, and if we don't put them up a little bit more than this, we'll start going backwards again. So, and I'll say the same thing about sewers. I know we have no increase there. I always was a believer that we need to increase the rates a little every year to keep up with inflation. So I'll leave it at that.
Any other questions from council? No further questions? The rates, and Tri-County has set out 4 or 5 year increases. I don't know whether, Tracy, you've seen that or not, but we don't want to fall too far behind, our wholesale cost, because we know it's going to keep going up. So do you want to, is there a proposal, or Deputy Mayor Loveland, what figure did you have in mind?
Well, Tri-County went up 10%, and I don't think we need to go a full 10% on it, on the R rate increase. I guess if I was probably suggesting something, I would say that we should probably go up somewhere around 15 cents, 15 or 16 cents. That would be the 11% plus 5% for us, really, is what I think we should do. So.
Where's the rest of council on that?
I'm in full agreement with Deputy Mayor Loveland on this as well. I think this is one area that we can definitely justify the costs as everything is going up, and 5% isn't. We're probably looking at more true figures of 7-8% when you break it all down, in the total inflationary picture. So I have no problem with moving the rates up to Deputy Mayor's suggestions. So,
Councillor Drulard.
Yeah, I would also support that. And I would also support an increase in the wastewater as well.
Councillor Pemberton.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything everybody said here. I think the increasing the rate a little bit more than the 5% would be ideal. And I agree. I think our wastewater rate should probably come close to matching what our water increase would be as well.
So, sorry, just for clarification, Deputy Mayor Loveland, are you saying 15 cents or 15%? Because it's going up 12 cents now. Do you want it up another 3 cents, or are we talking percent? Sorry, I just want to clarify.
No, I'm talking, maybe we go up to $2.60 instead of $2.56.
Okay.
I don't think we want to go up too much either. I realize you people in the office are going to be the ones that get the calls when we put rates up, but I think we can justify that with an increase. So.
That's quite all right. We lived through that flat rate on the sewer last year, so we can take it.
So that number is what then? We're going to raise the cost per liter then, Deputy Mayor
So-
Loveland. What's that number?
I'd say up to 260 at least.
It's a 7% increase.
Um,
That translates, or, sorry, that translates to just shy of 7% increase.
Okay, I think this is important. I want all of council to be on board with this.
So a 7% increase would put us at 261.
Okay, Tracy, you know where to go with this one?
Yes, I will just put it up as 7% and we'll leave it at that. So it'll be a little higher, right? So-
Yeah.
Question is, how does that impact the wastewater? It's a flat rate fee, right? So how does that impact the wastewater?
So if we, if you go to, sorry, Tara, if you go to the wastewater rates, they are at two, sorry, they are at 292. So if we put them up 7%, we're gonna be at $312.
I'm not
Deputy Mayor
sure,
Loveland.
I'm not sure we need 7% there because we don't have the same 10% increase on our wholesale costs. But
Right.
I'd like to see a little bit anyways, just to
So
kind of keep it going the right direction.
okay,
5%'s a nice round figure there maybe, because we did do quite a big increase last year.
right, and we added the flat fee, yeah, for sure. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? So 7 for water and 5 for wastewater, does that work for council?
I'm seeing agreement around the table here, Tracy,
Okay.
and the flat fee would stay the same then.
Yes,
I see everybody nodding their head here, so change that budget, Tracy, and I think we can live with that. Do you have it in front of you now that, or do we have to bring this back?
I believe Tara can do the resolution that it's adopted as as presented with the increases changing to 7 and 5 instead of 5 and 0.
Council's okay with that? Okay, we're gonna do that. Thank
Okay,
you.
one other thing I did do, I took Deputy Mayor Loveland did mention upping those connection fees, so I did add 5% onto those as well. It's just another thing of note.
Councilor Dreyfus.
Yeah, and I just quick, doing some comparisons to connection fees to Southold and to other locations. We're still under in connection fees, I believe. So can we do some consideration to to increasing those fees as well? Like I believe. And I haven't got a number right in front of me here, but I think we should look at that as well.
For you, Mayor, hence to Councilor Pemberton, sorry, can't talk tonight. Do you have connection fees or are they just collected through your development charges?
No, we have, our connection fees are separate from development charges.
Okay. Thanks. I just want to clarify that they were in a development charge study, so thanks.
So Southwold's connections fee for non-settlement areas, 15,255. Settlement areas, 9,916. And if it's in a development agreement, it's 4,581 for water. So ours are significantly less than that. But when you look at West Elgin's, theirs are similar to ours. So
Sorry, what are your wastewater connections? Do you know what those are off the top of your head?
well, you're gonna ask me that too, are you? $17,319.
Okay, so yeah, so ours are only 13,125, so we are below you for that for sure.
Yeah, we started at 12.5 and then it's gone up with the CPI each year.
Okay,
And that's about where we are now
right.
with that one.
Okay. So, I mean, that is council's decision as well, if they want to increase that amount.
Where's the rest of council on that one? We're thinking.
That's your job.
I would propose, and I don't know where all these breakdowns fit in, but I don't think 9,000 is 9,200 is unrealistic for connection charges for your connection fees.
Sorry, which fees are you talking about?
I'm talking about your water connection fees, or like, let me go back here for a minute.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
sorry.
I gotta work through this here for a minute.
Yeah.
Tracy, in your water connection fees, it looks like you've highlighted you've only increased the water meter packages. Is that correct, or am I reading that incorrectly?
Which sheet are we on? The water, everything's gone up 5%.
Oh, okay. It just didn't translate over okay, I see.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, yeah, it's based on, our bylaw that it goes up annually, cost of inflation per, now, we can up that, like I was just going with the average inflation, but we could, at the end of the year, it was what, 6.9 or something. We could go up to 7 if you wanted to up these rates even more. That's certainly council's decision. We could do 6.5% across the board, or 6.8.
Council's thoughts on that. I understand we're quite a bit below maybe a neighboring municipality, but I don't think we can play catch up in 1 year either. So we got to come up with a solution. We know they should be higher, but what's reasonable?
So I guess my thought on that is, if we increase our water connection fee by the 7% and our sewer connection fee by the 5%, keep it similar to what we're doing with our rates as well. I think that's justified in that as well. And you're not increasing it that much at that point in time, but just a little bit more than what's proposed.
Deputy Mayor Loveland, you got your finger on the button.
I was just kind of maybe going to go back and explain to especially the two new councils how we came up with those sewer connection fees last year. We took the estimated cost at the time for the plant and divided by the number of lots that were proposed to come on stream in the future, and did the math, and that's where we come up with. But again, costs have probably gone up, and probably those development's not going to go ahead quite as quickly as it was before. So I guess I would maybe support Corey's proposal that we keep the water at 7% increase and maybe leave the sewer at 5%, and then we can kind of justify that we did that for everything there. So,
Including connection fees.
yeah.
So we will increase all the water fees, anything we're doing, by 7%, and the wastewater by 5% on the fees, correct?
I see everybody nodding their head.
Not on the flat fees though, just on the.
Yes,
connection
exactly,
fees
yes,
and the
exactly,
breakdown.
yeah, with the services and things, right? Yeah, just want to make sure we get that right.
Councillor Dreyfus.
I guess the only comment I will make is we don't have a development fee already. And that is a big reflection. It should be a big reflection in the overall input cost. At the end of the day, the only people who benefit is the developer, because the fees are transferred directly to the person that's connecting. It's all put into the price of the lot. So the benefit of the no development fee is directly related to the developer himself, and they're selling the lots for the same price as they are. There's not much difference in price between a lot in Dutton as there is in St. Thomas. In fact, it's getting to the point where it's high. So that would be my only caution here is to take that into consideration. This is one way we can recoup costs that really isn't affecting the average ratepayer, and that's what my concern is in not charging a fair rate. So
We have to come up with a budget, but we could have that discussion on development charges. We've had it in the past. If council wishes to pursue that, doesn't happen quickly.
And all council knows I'm a huge fan of development charges, so you get no argument from the treasurer.
well, I think there's consideration to being a community that is trying to encourage development. But when we're taken advantage of, then there's the other side to it as well. And that concerns me as, for our average ratepayer who's picking up the tab all the time is our average ratepayer. And I think we have to be cognizant of that fact. So it may be a separate discussion, but on the table right now is the connection charges, right?
Right. So I guess if council's willing to entertain getting a development charge study done, then we could leave these connection charges at 5%, or do we want to up them and then leave wastewater right out of the development charge study? Because you could do that as well.
I think we need to go to that 7 that we've discussed. Development charges won't happen anytime soon, Tracy. It's not going to help us with this budget or this fiscal year. So I think we need to get our rates where they should be. Well, I shouldn't say where they should be, where we can live with it for the time being. And I believe the development charge issue is a completely different discussion that this council may want to entertain. So, but that'll be on the back burner for now. So if we've got the numbers, Tracy, do you understand where this council wants to take this?
Yes, so that 7% will put that wastewater connection fee up to 13,375, I believe it is. Is that what council's wanting to do? Or do you want to leave it at 5%?
I see heads nodding here in agreement, Tracy.
So we're going to take that one up 7% as well?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I will bring, just to be sure, I will bring these fees back when I bring the other fees and charges bylaw back with everything else, and we can just double check that they're all where council wants them if you'd like, or are you comfortable with what the changes we make tonight?
Councilor Dreyfus.
I would prefer that you come back to council with the suggested fees. That would be my preference.
Yep.
But that's up to council, but that would be my preference.
This will hold off just approving this water and wastewater budget then, Tracy, but that's not the end of the world.
We can approve the budget, and you can say in the resolution that we'll bring the fees and charges back just for one more look over, if you like, and get the budget out of the way, and then the fees can come back with the other fees and charges.
Council okay with that? Yes. Yeah, okay, that moves the process along, Tracy. Thank you very much. Anything further on the water or wastewater budgets? Good discussion. Clerk Tara, I think we're ready for the question.
So I have moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich adopts the 2023 water and wastewater budget as presented, and that council directs staff to bring back the water and wastewater fees with the fees bylaw at a future meeting. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. 13, unfinished business. Nothing? New business? Nothing? I'm seeing nothing. Announcements, number 15, and Clerk Tara, you can make that announcement.
Just that we will be holding a training session tomorrow virtually with council for integrity commissioner training at 5 p.m.
Everybody got that email and the links?
I do actually have one question for council, whether you'd like to virtually meet from your homes, or would you like to meet here in council chambers tomorrow?
I have better connection, but if it works better for you here, but if it works better for you, I can do it. Doesn't
Okay, your call, Clerk Tara.
All right, I will think on it tonight, I guess.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us up to close. Oh, Councillor Drulard.
I just wanted to make one brief announcement. The West Lorne Comets entered Craft Hockeyville, and because they were waiting for that determination whether they could stay a D center, they only went in the last week, and just so you know, they did very well. They had 804 submissions in under a week, and we're going to find out March 11th how they did with that. But it looked very favorable. They had 96 stories and 708 pictures and notes. So they did a really good job on that. And thank you to the staff for getting it out there on the socials. Made a difference.
That's a good news story, and nothing like an arena or hockey to bring Canadians together. That brings us up to, we're going to be going into closed, and I think it's a good time to take a short break here. Do you want to get into closed or do it when we come back from the break, Clerk Tara? Okay, let's get into closed.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich now moves into a session of the meeting that shall be closed to the public at 6:35 p.m. in accordance with Section 2392 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001, Chapter 25, for discussion of the following matters. A, labor relations or employee negotiations, Section 2392D of the Municipal Act, Medical Center. B, labor relations or employee negotiations, Section 2392D of the Municipal Act, Public Works employees. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're good.
Okay, we're out of closed, and we're going to backtrack a little bit on, you wanted to deal with that specific item under unfinished business?
Yes, so our records management assistant needs an answer as to whether her employment will be continuing with the municipality until the end of 2023. She just needs to be able to tell her other employer.
Councillor Loughlin.
I've given this some thought, and I think we need to get this job going. I'm willing to extend the contract for her to the end of the year with a couple of conditions. I think one is that we make it very clear this is not going to be a permanent position. It's not going to just get carried on and on. And number two, I think we really need her to be training some of the other staff so that they are prepared to start putting their stuff in. And I'd support that extension if, with those two conditions.
Councillor Dreyfus.
I would support extending the contract for sure.
Councillor Drulard.
With those, well, I didn't think of the first one, but the training, training new staff, because I noted the comment that it would fall back to Tara to do that, and I really think that's an important component, so that moving forward, it's not going to fall on Tara to do. It's, the staff's going to be trained. And that's it. So I would, with those two conditions, I would also support to the end of the year.
Councillor Pemberton.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I like the two conditions. I think it's important that current staff learn how to put their own stuff in a laser fiche so it's not falling onto somebody else. So I 100% agree with those two conditions.
Okay, Tara and Tracy are fairly clear on the direction. Thank you. I agree. I think all we have is bylaws.
All right, I will go ahead. Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that bylaw 2023-01, being a bylaw to borrow on the credit of the corporation in the amount of $103,000 for the construction of the Dude Ranch Hill Drain, be read a third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Just keep on going.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that bylaw 2023-02, being a bylaw to borrow on the credit of the corporation in the amount of $536,000 for the improvement of the Bennett Drain upper portion, be read a third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that bylaw 2023-15, being a bylaw to govern the proceedings of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich and its committees and the conduct of its members, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. This was just moving the delegations to the beginning of the agenda. All in favor? And that's passed. And moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfus, that bylaw 2023-16, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Municipal Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried. Would you like me to close the meeting?
Unless there's anything further. Our work is complete.
All right. Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 8 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Bye.
Good night, Trace.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.